DJ PK, and we're joined now by Tanner Wall, former BYU free safety. Tanner, good morning.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
We are doing well this morning. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
As a guy who's been through college football now, as you watch everything that's happening with coaches moving, assistant coaches moving, quarterbacks on the carousel for $5 million or more, is this all new and normal to you, or do you still have some of the, stunned, maybe not the outrage, fans have some outrage, but are you still surprised or stunned by it, or is it just new normal and you're not blinking anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be just the new normal. With the way it's structured, I'm not surprised by it at all. To see, I mean, basically, every player in the country is a free agent. It's kind of funny to see, the graphics put out by certain schools saying, I've agreed to another 1-year deal, or I've re-signed, with my college. But that's just kind of the state of where we are right now and how it's set up. So I think we're going to continue to see it unless some changes come down the pipeline. But also, with the way that they have only offered one portal window, the frenzy right now seems to be as crazy as ever.
Yeah, it really is. There's no question about that. And you had worked your way up. You're a success story, obviously, from how you got there and end up finishing as one of the better players, one of the leaders and all that. And that's been acknowledged. Your story has been told. It's a great story. It's something that young people can look up to and aspire to. It's that motivating and all that stuff and inspirational. And with that leadership came opportunities to see who was good as far as the coaching staff and how they came together. So I think you have an opportunity to speak to this more than most folks in terms of what does the loss to Jay Hill mean to this BYU defense and how it overcomes, because he probably wasn't going to stay there forever, and so now he goes, so be it. But what did he mean, and what do they need to do to overcome it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree just on the value that Jay has brought to our program. When he came in 2023, very early on, you could tell the kind of expectations that he had for us as a defense and as a team. And I really do feel good. I feel confident and comfortable knowing that a lot of the things that he has kind of installed and instilled in the players and in the program will continue. From a scheme perspective, this defense is very familiar to a lot of guys on that staff, right? It's the same defense. Kalani knew this defense even before Jay came, right? They all kind of learned it together in their time at Utah. And so this coaching tree and a lot of the guys that we have and have been able to retain at BYU through all of this, they're very familiar with this scheme. Now, obviously, from a leadership perspective, whoever it is that we expect to kind of be the coordinator on the defensive side of the ball is going to have their own nuances and put their own, little wrinkles in it. But, I still feel very confident in the future of where we're going as far as the BYU defense. But again, speaking to Jay, I mean, he's an amazing coach, amazing mentor. The way that he's able to help players and coaches prepare for the games and just feel mentally like they've mastered exactly what they're supposed to do going into the game. You're able to play with a lot of confidence. And I know that's something that he'll take with him wherever he goes.
Jay's been at 3 different schools now, and all the schools have experienced high water marks while he's been there. And football's so big. Nobody does anything by themselves, but you can't ignore the fact that there have been high water marks now at 3 different schools. And I'm curious, and you just started to touch on it there, he's probably good at all this stuff, but where did you feel the most impact? Was it the schemes, and when you're watching film, you're like, wow, this is a super smart game plan. They're not going to be able, we got him. Or is it things that he says on the sideline or in the locker room, and it's like an emotional, psychological thing? Jay's superpower?
I think it's a multifaceted thing. Like, I think it comes from a lot of different buckets of his style. From a personality standpoint, he's a competitor at the highest level. He hates losing. He wants to win at everything. But also the culture and just kind of the expectation, as I mentioned. Like, we came into the year expecting to win every game, and we came into the year expecting, when we play in the Veldert Stadium, like the home field advantage we have, like we're going to win every game in that stadium. And then for even like, he's a coach, some coaches and their styles are different, but he's a coach who would, show up to off-season workouts. He would see, okay, how are we looking running? How are we looking in the weight room? How, is the intensity there? Are the leaders leading? And so there was this accountability that was ingrained into everything that we did. And then going back to just like the game day prep, it's a next level of preparation that, I think most people would love to see the whole process and see exactly what he does and how he builds his call sheet. And by the time he gets to game day, he's got the things so dialed as far as exactly what calls he likes in different situations, between pressures, man pressures, zone pressures, what I like in third and medium, what I like on base downs, based on where we are in the field, based on personnel. And he's got it, so figured out by game day. It's like this game of chess, but he's, kind of feeling like he's not reacting, but he's two to three steps ahead, knowing exactly what he wants to do. And his preparation is, I don't know if psychotic is the right word. that might have a negative connotation to it, but just trying to paint the picture of truly how much time and effort he puts into that.
As you say, these guys learned this at Utah, so it has been imparted to the guys who've stayed on the staff. At minimum, it's rubbed off on them, and more than likely, it's far greater than simply saying it's rubbed off on them. It's ingratiated in them. So with that in mind, if you were the president of BYU football and had the opportunity to make the decision, would you rather see someone be elevated internally or go outside?
Well, it's a good thing I'm not the president making that choice, but I really do feel a lot of confidence knowing the coaches that we have on the defensive side of the ball. I think there's a lot of guys who could do that job extremely well. Gary Anderson's a name that's been thrown around a ton in recent, days and weeks. And the value that he's added at BYU too has to be recognized. I think he's kind of one who flies under the radar quite a bit to fans and others who maybe don't really understand the level of involvement that he has, just because it seems to be somewhat of a backseat role. But he's very much in the day-to-day and helping us really dial our scheme. And Coach Kelly Papinga is another one who has had a lot of on his plate with being our special teams coordinator, and has done an incredible job doing that. And I could see him as well being someone who could play a huge role as a play caller. But even Kalani, if he wanted to, be more of a guy with a play sheet in his hand on game day, I could see him doing that. But there's a lot of, as you said, that coaching staff, because they're day in, day out doing this and they've been learning it and feel comfortable with it. There's a lot of them who know that scheme, understand it. We can put our own, spin on it as far as where we want to take it. But it's gonna be there. If it's an internal hire, then it's going to continue to look a lot like what it looks like right now.
Can you explain to us how Kalani handles the part about being really involved, but at the same time letting coaches coach, which we've heard multiple coordinators and position coaches down there have praised him for that, but at the same time, he doesn't have his hands off the reins either. How do you see him balance those things?
Yeah, it's a definitely his unique way of doing it. And from a player's standpoint, Kalani's like ultimate strength from our point of view is just the leader that he is, and how he's able to really just inspire the boys and make sure that we all, feel valued and feel like we, have something to add to the success of the team, whether you're a scout team guy or whether you're, an All-American starter. Everyone plays a role in the program. And from a leadership perspective, he, is very good at doing the managerial things of, being the captain, guiding the ship. But as you said, he gives a lot of autonomy to the coordinators. He doesn't want to step on toes, and because at the end of the day, you got to recognize this is a profession and a field with a lot of egos from players and from coaches, right? You got a lot of guys who want to be successful, got a lot of guys who have their own way of doing things, and so from Kalani's point of view, I think he understands how valuable it is to let coordinators and let position coaches have their own autonomy and call their own shots. And if there's moments when he needs to step in, then he will. But I think that just comes from the level of trust that he has for his staff. And I mean, when you look at his staff too, it makes sense that he does that. We've got amazing coaches across the board, across all positions. So letting them kind of take the reins in their own rooms and on their sides of the ball, I think he's very comfortable knowing that they're going to do it exactly how he expects them to. And if there's, some changes or things that need to be made, then he can step in.
If a 15-year-old came to you now and said, hey, I've watched you, I know your story, I want to be the next Tanner Wall, I want to be a Satawala, whatever it might be, what would you say to a youngster as someone who wants to achieve what you've achieved? What would it take and what would they need to do?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. There's a lot to that. The thing that I would say to focus, the level of discipline that you have to achieve, something like this is next level. Just because there's a lot of kids out there who are great athletes, right? There's tons of great athletes across the country who could play at the next level. But, you have to be the kind of person from a leadership perspective where, your team, if you were not going to play on a Friday night game in high school, your team was going to feel it. It's shoot, that's a hole that we don't really know how to fill. Your value to your team has to be so high, both on and off the field. But also there's a level of that too, where it's just you got to be a playmaker. You have to find a way to impact the game anytime the ball touches your hand or, a play comes near you. And so you got to prepare for those opportunities. But also football IQ and studying film is a huge thing. And I think that's one thing in high school that can go undervalued just because of resources or coaching or other things. But, your understanding for the game can help you, perform at a high level. And I think if you haven't seen the whole process or maybe you're not too familiar, as a high school kid, you're going to think, okay, more footwork, more lifting, more routes on air with my quarterback or whatever it is. And it's your body can only take so much. It's you gotta train the mind as well. So be a holistic, be the full picture football player where you can be, a star across all the different levels of what it takes to be great.
How much film do you watch in season? How much film do you watch in the off season? How much do you watch your own film? How much do you watch other teams? And how much, when you're in high school, should a high school kid be watching college and pros, and when you're in the college, how much should you be watching the NFL, figuring those guys are even more detail-oriented?
Yeah, no, so in a typical week for us, I mean, we're probably together as a unit, probably 7 to 8 hours, I would say, of film. And then outside of that, I think those of us who take it very seriously are watching, close to an hour a day on our own. And so, I mean, that adds up to, let's just call it 15, 16 hours a week for a game. And then in high school, the thing in high school that can be tough is like either film quality might not be as good or the angles. And so it might be a little bit harder to break down depending on like what sort of resources your school has. But like if a school has the opportunity to invest in that kind of stuff, like I would say absolutely do it. Just being able to watch film from both a sideline angle and an end zone, a back or a front angle is huge. The NFL film, it's interesting because the way that kind of, Coach Hill he taught us to watch film and look for tendencies and patterns and those kinds of things. The NFL is very different from traditional college patterns, I would say, because, there's a lot more under center. They throw the ball a lot more from like pistol under center. And there's, different patterns with that. So I'm kind of excited to make that jump as far as watching and looking for, different tendencies and things that I can learn as far as, what differentiates the pro schemes from a lot of the college ones.
You speak of the NFL, I assume you're going to give that an opportunity, see how it plays out, and you're well aware that the lifespan of the average NFL guy isn't very long. So with that in mind, short-term NFL opportunity, what do you want beyond that?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna pursue my football career in the NFL for as long as I can. Feel like I got a good shot and can add a lot of value wherever I end up. But I got my degree at BYU in finance, and I've been working on my
Yeah, Tanner's joining us by video there, and it froze and locked up. So I think he was working on an MBA, I think he was about to say. We'll see if we can get him back.
It continues to be more impressive.
I know, right? Well, you could tell by his answers. This here he's back with us now. Tanner, you locked up there. You got your degree in finance and?
Oh, yeah, and I've been working on my master's as well. So I've been getting my MBA, and just through a lot of the networking and other, cool opportunities that I've had to rub shoulders with amazing alumni and others in and around BYU, have become connected to some cool entrepreneurial ventures and opportunities with some startups. So I've, been able to do some work with them on the side as an intern and doing different things. So got some really cool opportunities. My level of involvement right now is small, but a lot of them have said the thing, whenever you're not a football player, we want you working and doing some stuff with us. So have some cool opportunities in the business realm to pivot into that whenever the football train comes to a stop.
Reno Mahe, after he was in the NFL a few years, said he would tell every high school and college player, embrace special teams. Don't be one of those people who runs from those. That you've got to have that to make it in the NFL unless you're a quarterback or a superstar, I guess. How many special teams do you think you can play in the NFL?
I mean, shoot, I'd like to think I could play all of them. I've played a ton of special team snaps in my career at BYU. So, I can block on punt and cover, block and cover on kickoff and kickoff return. I played a lot of punt return. So, I mean, I've done it all. So I'm confident that I could contribute on any of those teams at the next level.
All right. Well, Tanner, good luck going forward. Thanks for joining us and sharing your perspective on the wild world of college football today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's nice to be with you guys this morning. I appreciate it.
Tanner Wall, former BYU free safety, joining us right here on The Zone. Thanks, Tanner. All right, DJ and PK, a little late to break. Steve Cleveland, former Cougar basketball coach, coming up at the top of the hour. Stay with us right here on The Zone.